What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Yanks the Kop. Thank you all for joining us, for those of you in the chat already. Today, we're actually going to do the pre-match analysis for the West Brom game tomorrow. Really excited about that one, obviously, with the results of Chelsea and Leicester recently, and Liverpool's massive win against Manchester United. We still have a shot for the top four. So as always, I'm joined by Sophie. She has her massive chalice. She's with us tonight. Sophie, how you doing tonight?
I'm all right. Thanks, babe. How are you?
Very, very well. Very, very well. And again, we are joined by a recurring guest now, Joe Chapman. You can find Joe at ChapmanJ92 on Twitter. He's the West Brom correspondent tonight. Joe, how are we doing today?
I'm good, mate. Yeah, I'm good. I'm not going to be, sadly, on this show next year, but yeah, let's hope for let's kind of aim for 2022, 23.
Hey,
and then,
you never know. Maybe we'll play in a cup or something. Who knows?
Yeah,
who knows
true,
what'll happen?
true.
You might be in promotion. We might do teams who are being promoted to the Premier League. You'd never know.
If you need a championship expert, then that's me.
We're up for any ideas and all ideas. But before we get into it, guys, if you haven't already, go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button. We really appreciate it. It allows us to get on fans and supporters like Joe, quality guests that just make our show so much better. So again, appreciate Joe for coming on. Appreciate everybody in the chat. But let's get started with the game tomorrow. Joe, just looking at this season and with West Brom in general, were you surprised that a manager like Sam Allardyce wasn't able to save West Brom from relegation? Did you guys expect him to come in? Did you have faith in the squad? I mean, just your thoughts overall about now being relegated officially.
Yeah, I think, to be honest with you, really, you go back to last summer and the budget wasn't very big compared to other clubs. You look at Fulham and Leeds, spent a lot more money than us, and we were kind of on the back foot really straight away. And then under Slaven, we conceded goals for fun, conceded something like 11 goals in the first 3 games. So immediately, you're in for a long season. And to be fair, it's not like relegation kind of sneaked up on us. We knew that it was going to be a really, really big ask. We were in the bottom 3 for the entirety of Allardyce's reign so far. We haven't been out of the bottom 3 since October, so that kind of paints the picture. And I think really, on the face of things, Albion have just not quite been good enough. They've addressed what they had to do in the January window, and obviously, you come through the winter months, which are really, really difficult and really, really, jam-packed with fixtures. And by the time you've kind of integrated your new signings, then the results and the performances have improved a little bit, but not enough. And table doesn't lie, does it? 10 points adrift is well cut off as well. It's not like you're in the running still with a few games to go. So unfortunately, really, unlike the last time when we went down with players like Foster and Evans and Chadley and Sturridge, for example, this is a different kind of group of players. Really, they're not players that have got any Premier League experience. So bottom line, really, I didn't expect anything else. I thought survival, 17th place, would have been a really, really good achievement at the start of the season.
Makes you feel bad for complaining about top 6, doesn't it?
There's always somebody worse off. Always somebody worse off, including us.
We don't want Europa. Can we forfeit Europa place? And then you've got teams who, like yourself, you've just said 17th place would have been ideal. Like, that makes you feel really spoilt, doesn't it?
I think if I was a Liverpool fan for the last couple of years, God, I mean, I've watched them because I just enjoy football, but I enjoy watching Klopp's teams. And, the last 2 years, from the beginning of the season where they went on to win the Champions League and then to follow that up with the Premier League. But bearing in mind the year they didn't win the Premier League and they still managed to get 90-odd points. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. The win ratio for the last 2 years, and even probably up until about Christmas this season as well, just before we played you guys at Anfield, it was, there can't have been a better manager in the world, really, than Klopp in that time, in terms of what he's been able to get out of a certain group of players. And he's only added 1 or 2, really. It's not been like a huge overhaul every summer. He's kind of stuck with the same group. So,
right.
I mean, it's tough then when of course, inevitably, you're not going to be able to maintain that. And then it's kind of a case of how you respond. I thought they played brilliantly in Man United, to be fair.
Yeah, we did.
that was a great football match overall. But Sophie, do you want to ask the next question?
No.
Okay.
To be honest, I haven't even got the questions up. That's why.
Back to the Copperberg.
They're in the chat. What do you mean?
Have you put them in? Oh no, I haven't opened it. I can't be bothered. You do no. Stop trying to get your host. I don't do it now.
Why are you here? Damn it! All right, so Wally with a nice agenda for us. So we have him to thank for a lot of these questions. But one of the questions that coincided with that was from Chris Welch here in the chat. And Chris, thanks for joining us as always. Alan, Steve, and Jeannie, thanks so much for joining us, guys. But do you think that Big Sam will stay for next season? I mean, a lot of times teams that are facing relegation, they hire Big Sam after firing their manager when they're put in that position. And Sam generally gets them out of that position. I think that's kind of his reputation, right? But he's rarely faced with this idea of relegation. So, I mean, does he stay for you? Does he go? What do you think happens with Sam?
I think the club would really like Sam to stay. I think the budget's going to be pretty good in terms of the transfer budget, the spend he's going to be able to make on players. You've got to bear in mind that there's probably going to be a couple of players that they're going to get sold for big money or decent money, which would boost the coffers a little bit. I just think generally it's in Sam's court now in terms of the decision he makes. But does he want to be kind of going to Luton away on a Tuesday night in December? And that's the challenge for me, is whether has he got the kind of the fire in the belly and the stomach to really just go and build a new squad, because there's going to be 7 or 8 players that need to be signed, and lead another team to promotion. He hasn't been in the Championship for about 7 or 8 years, so
right.
It's a case of whether he wants to. I think he's got to a point in his career really where he's been able to pick and choose. And when he left Palace to go to England, there was just opportunities there for him to kind of just say, well, if Everton, example, come along, I'll go to Everton. And then a few years down the line, having done a reasonable job at Everton, he's been able to kind of pick up on West Brom. And unfortunately, the job's just been a little bit too big for him. I think it would have been too big for most managers. So kind of convincing him to stay is going to be the big thing really now. But it's kind of with Sam now, he's 66. Does he want the hassle of it all? Does he love, being in football so much that it's actually a job that he really, really likes the idea of? Or would he rather kind of hang around till November, December, out of work, and then another West Brom comes around like a Watford or someone and says, "Can you come and try and save us?"
Yeah, I'm just wondering though, like as a West Brom fan, now going down, being relegated, do you personally want to keep Fat Sam? Like, I just don't understand. Like, do you enjoy watching your teams play Fat Sam style of football? Because I can't imagine that being any form of enjoyment, watching a low block week in, week out. So I suppose my question to you is, do you actually want him personally, or do you want to get fresh blood and try and come back to the Prem with something? Is
it Fat Sam or Big Sam?
Fat Sam.
I know. It depends who you're asking, really. I think it's Big Sam for me. I think the only thing I can say is that the only thing I can say is that I'd like to think it won't be a low block every week in the Championship. You'd hope that kind of West Brom being one of the better teams in the league. And to be fair to Sam, like, there have been games this season where they have actually played some pretty decent stuff in difficult circumstances. They've got 1 or 2 really, really decent players who will be in the Premier League next season, I've got no doubt. And they've actually played some good stuff at times. And unfortunately, they just can't score enough. Would I want Sam to stay on? Actually, at this moment in time, yes, because I think that just Sam being there in the Championship kind of gets you top 6 almost. And then from there, it's a case of what you do in terms of the transfer window and recruitment and building on the squad that he's already got. They're going to lose a lot of players in the summer, so he's got a few places to fill. And the alternative is, who do you go with otherwise? It's like Chris Wilder probably would be the favourite, I'd imagine, if it's not Sam. Is the football that different under Chris Wilder? Probably not. Unless you were to go and dig out like another gem like Slaven, then it's a tough one, isn't it? Because it's kind of, where do you go? Do you go like Watford and go abroad and dig out an absolute unknown. I don't even know the Watford manager's name, but they're in the Premier League. So, do you know what I mean? It's like,
right.
You're kind of hoping that Sam's record kind of speaks for itself, and you're kind of hoping, well, if he does stay on, then he should have enough. He's shown enough in the last couple of months, I think.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
It's not Jurgen Klopp like kind of gegenpress football, but do you know what I mean? And it's not Pep.
I suppose
but
that was the point, because obviously I said before we came on that we feel quite spoilt as Liverpool fans of recent. So for me, just kind of trying to understand, if you're being relegated, why would you want to keep that manager who got relegated? But I suppose like a sense of loyalty, knowing that the situation you're going into, in actuality, it makes quite a lot of sense. Bit of continuity between the two managers, and like a bit of,
Yeah, I think to be fair, they've not gone down like Sheffield United, for example. They have gone down with a little bit of fight. So, do you know what I mean? You're kind of hoping that if they can get a couple of decent results in the last couple of games, then they might give Sam another reason to think, well, actually these are probably worth hanging around and having a crack at the Championship with. He has got another year on his contract as well, so it's kind of a case of whether he wants to stay on. It's all with him. So it's a big job, really. When you get relegated, it's not the same unless you got that kind of contingency plan like Norwich with Farker, and you just go bouncing up and down. And Burnley did it with Sean Dyche. You get relegated, there's no panic. It's just, we'll go again. The bigger question then is, if Sam does get you up, and 12 months' time we're talking about West Brom going back to the Prem, do you want Sam in the Prem again? That's kind of an even bigger question.
I really don't.
No, I gather, yeah.
We already have Burnley, and I just can't stand another team that just parks the bus every game.
See, but to be fair, I hate Burnley, but I really, really like Sean Dyche.
Oh,
yeah.
I love him. I think he's so funny.
It is kind of horses for courses, because when you play, you get like when you get like two teams like West Brom and Wolves, for example, like we did at Molineux. And obviously Wolves are a better team than us, and I know it's a derby game, so it's slightly different, but we played some really good stuff, scored 3 goals at Molineux, and it's an absolute classic, and we won 3-2. But you go to Anfield, and I don't actually think we got out of our half the first half. And then we just nicked a point with a set piece. And that kind of was a bit Tony Pulis. I don't think Sam's anything like Tony Pulis, to be fair, in terms of like the quality of football. I think it is a bit better. But I think you just got to accept that as a Liverpool fan. When you've got Burnley at home, when you've got Norwich at home, when you've got West Brom at home, when you've got Brighton at home, you're just gonna have you just got to accept that they're gonna have to do what they're gonna have to do to get a result. And Burnley and Brighton and West Brom have all done that this season at Anfield. So it's like, you know what I mean? Yeah, that's what I mean. It's all on Liverpool, because any given Saturday you'd expect Liverpool just to win 3-0 in any of those games. And I think 12 months earlier they would have done easy. So.
Yeah, I guess for you as a West Brom supporter, do you think that it's difficult for the manager to keep the players engaged, especially after the news of officially being relegated? I mean, do you, and with this game in particular, do you think that Big Sam, or Fat Sam as Sophie would call him?
I just call him Fat.
Well, do you think he'll get the players motivated for this match? Big Sam always likes a match against Jurgen Klopp, against Liverpool, and what better way to go down fighting against Liverpool and not allowing them into the Champions League, or preventing them from going into the Champions League?
Yeah, he's made it pretty clear he wants a pretty strong finish. He's also made a point of, he keeps talking about West Ham. Now, Albion have got West Ham on Wednesday at the Hawthorns. It's going to be our game that we play in front of our fans. He's really, really, really keen to win that one. I don't even think it's anything to do with the fact that he was a former West Ham manager. I just think he wants to win that game in front of fans. But of course, you got the Liverpool game first, and I hope to God that it's the last game ever that Albion play behind closed doors, because it's just been absolutely horrendous, really, for the last 12 months.
Agreed.
I don't think he's going to need much of an excuse, really. I think you look at Sam's results and Albion's results this season. They got 4 points from Chelsea. They got a point at the Etihad. They got a point against United. They got a point at Anfield. I think they've got some good results this season against the bigger boys. And what we found last season, when Albion were going for promotion at the last couple of games, and they come up against a couple of teams at the end of the season with nothing to play for, that's when you realise how dangerous teams can be when the pressure's off. Like Easy's at Palace now, but he played against us on the last game of the season for QPR and scored an unbelievable goal. You just know they're just all playing with so much freedom because they've got nothing to lose. They're there to kind of wreck the party. And I kind of know at the back of a lot of Liverpool fans' minds it'll be, we've just won at Old Trafford. Can't wait to draw 1-1 at the Hawthorns. And
don't say that. Don't put that juju out there.
We're home. We already did this. Like, we don't need any more bad juju. Please excuse this jerky motion, by the way. The dogs decided now's the time to play tug-of-war. I do apologise.
Well, how do you expect Big Sam and West Brom to line up for this one? I mean, what's your lineup? What's your formation? Who are the danger men, obviously, that we have to watch out for? Actually, before we do that, Chris Welch actually had a good question here in the chat. Which players in particular would you think would potentially leave West Brom over the summer?
Pereira. Pereira could play for about 18 or 17 of the Premier League clubs. I've got no doubt he'd be. We signed him for 9 million, and I'd be very, very disappointed if they didn't make 4 times as much as that.
Oh wow! Yeah,
because I think he's just so much better than anything else we've got in terms of an outfield player, and so much better than anything I've seen in a West Brom shirt in the Premier League. In terms of his contribution, he's got like a double figures in terms of goals, but he's also got 5 or 6 assists as well.
Have there been any whispers of where he could potentially end up?
Well, there's a few teams abroad. I mean, Leipzig, for example, have been linked. Have got a bit of an interest.
Okay.
Villa have got an interest. That'd be pretty horrific for an Albion fan to see Pereira wear Villa shirt. Honestly, you could see him at like an Everton or a Tottenham or an Arsenal. He could play for any of those teams. I've got no doubt at all. You look at where those teams are, kind of, bottom half of the top half.
Do you think he could start teams?
I look at the Arsenal team. I really like Smith Rowe, for example. I really like Smith Rowe, but is Pereira at this moment better than Smith Rowe? I mean, it's close. I know Arsenal fans will say that Smith Rowe is great, but Pereira is honestly, he's. I think he's still, even if we got 30 million for him, he'd be a bargain for a Premier League team, like a big Premier League team. You consider Liverpool spent 40 for Jota. Pereira is, and I know he's a really good player, and he's probably got even better since he joined Liverpool, but he was good at Wolves, but he wasn't like 40 million good. That was a surprise to me. Whereas I think you look at Pereira, you put him in a good team, I think he's a bargain for somebody. And I mentioned, you can include Liverpool in that, to be fair. I think would I rather have Pereira coming off the bench, or would I rather have Shaqiri? Do you know what I mean?
You very have a good point. Sophie, you were going to say something. You kind of bit your tongue.
I was just going to make a remark about the Jota being worth 40 million at Wolves. And I was just going to make a very diplomatic point of he was always worth 40 million. Wolves just didn't unlock his potential. That's what I'm sticking with.
He was playing really well. He was playing really, really well. I mean, Nuno loved him. He was great in the Championship, and he's still only about 22, 23. Like, he's ridiculous how much potential he's got.
Even when we signed Jota, not one Liverpool fan really thought he was going to be as good as he is. So I'm just.
Yeah, exactly. It was all about Thiago at the time, wasn't it? And
yeah.
I think it's because he got announced the day after Thiago, so we were also on the Thiago hype train. It just kind of felt anticlimactic, like, oh, another one, really? Wow. I think he should have really done Jota before Thiago, like a couple of days before, to really let us enjoy Jota's sign, and then smacked us with Thiago.
But he costs more than Thiago, which is crazy, really. You think about it. I know you're paying for the future, aren't you? But yeah.
I mean, when Jota came, I was actually very surprised that we bought him for 40 million, especially when all you heard over the summer and during the pandemic was that Liverpool had no money, and then all of a sudden we're spending 40 million. I think there was a payment option, a financial option that was allowed, but yeah, I was very.
Yeah, Hoover went the other way as well, didn't he?
Yeah. Yep.
Which probably knocked a few quid off.
Yeah, definitely. But let's get to the chat real quick. What was that, Soph?
I just said that just makes Thiago's signing fee even funnier, really, doesn't it? The fact that we managed to get him just for 40 plus sending Hoover over there, and we still paid less for Thiago. But,
yeah. And Thiago is like $5 million a year for the next 5 years or something, 4 years maybe.
It's masterclass.
Yeah. I can't really knock the transfer business that Liverpool have done for about 3 or 4 years, but I just don't really get their January window at all. I mean, I just don't get it. I don't really know. It was a bit kind of. I've no doubt Kabak could be a good player, but like Ben Davies, I just don't.
Davies makes sense. He hasn't featured. He's barely been on the bench. I don't understand that move at all. Just Wahomey thinks that we're gonna sell him this summer for more than we bought him for. So
how can we sell him without giving him any minutes, not breaking him in? He's got no experience. That makes us pay. I
think some other teams wanted him when he was in the championship, but he's
not going to turn Liverpool down, is he? You know what I mean?
Right.
Not on the last day of the transfer window when Liverpool come knocking and go, "Want to come and sign for us?" And you're kind of like, "Oh, yes, please."
Yes. Yeah. He's like 28, 29, 30 years old. I mean, he's you're just not going to turn that offer down, are you? At that time of your career.
Poor guy.
I just think, just off the Ben Davies thing before we move on, I think Ben Davies was the panic buy when we weren't sure we were going to get Kabak. I think by the time the Kabak deal was solidified, it was too late to pull out the Davies, and we just kind of went, "Oh, fuck, we're going to have to have him." And I genuinely think that's what it is now.
Just going to the chat real quick. Stephen Somerville, Irish Rugby, said #make Sophie boss.
Yes, please.
Maybe eventually. I don't know. She's making her way up.
I'm the only one. I'd like to point out, I've got the best track record of being here in attendance. My attendance is like 99% right now. You are getting an orange letter home. You're never here.
How many shows have you done?
A lot.
How many is a lot? 8?
No, come on, that.
Red flag. Throw in the red flag. It's an NFL term. You wouldn't understand. Chris Welch saying, Big Sam not on top of Sophie's Christmas card list. I take it. I think she calls him Fat Sam, so definitely not on the Christmas card list. Genie 2.0 or Genie 20, I'm sorry. Is he on anyone's list? I highly doubt it, to be honest. Dave's LFC chat. Thanks for joining, man. Always a pleasure to having you on the show. Let's see. Alan Holloway said that Celtic wanted him. Yeah, I think he's talking about Ben Davies there. But I thought it was one of the Scottish teams that had wanted him, and maybe even a Premier League or Championship team as well. I forget which one it was. But 1892 podcast. Hi, people. Hope you're all good. Big game tomorrow. Massive game tomorrow. Thanks so much for joining us again, guys. You guys are the best. And then he says nothing less than 3 points tomorrow. Couldn't agree more. It's gonna be a massive, massive game. So hopefully we can take it. But Joe, just going back to you, the question I was about to ask you earlier, formation, lineup, what do you kind of expect to see out of West Brom tomorrow? Do you think you'll see that freedom that you were kind of preaching earlier, or do you think that Sam is just going to want the result and knock Jurgen Klopp's, top 4 hopes off the ladder?
He kind of went pretty attacking actually at the Emirates last week. I know they had to win the game, so at that point they were just about clinging on, so they had to go and win, and they started the game really well, 4-2-3-1, and unfortunately they didn't get the opening goal, and then Arsenal just kind of sucker punched them really. They've got Maitland-Niles back, who is available again because he couldn't play against Arsenal, so I'd fully expect Maitland-Niles to come straight back into the team. Who for is a difficult question. They've got a couple of players who will probably drop out. I thought Matt Phillips played really well last Sunday, so I think probably Callum Robinson would drop out. So I can imagine it's probably going to be like a 4-3-3 again.
Okay.
Sam Johnston, very much like Pereira Johnston's a Premier League move waiting to happen. He's been absolutely top class recently, and to be fair, all season. I think he's pretty unlucky in terms of the England goalkeeping setup because, as Sam said at his press conference actually on Friday, yesterday, he thinks he's probably kind of as good as the England goalkeepers that will go to the Euros. I would be inclined to agree, to be honest. There's faults in all of them. I quite like Henderson at United, but Pickford kind of just scares me a little bit, and Nick Pope's a little bit of the same. So I actually think Johnson's pretty good value.
Hi.
Hey.
Look who's here. Hi, Drunky.
I drink often. Kind of last time I drank for over a year. I feel
Of
smashed.
course, it's going to
I
be
had, like,
fun.
5 glasses of wine.
Let's go.
Oh.
Have you got any more drink? Because we need to keep it going. Like, I started, I had a nap, and
You're
I started.
man. Sorry, Joe. We didn't mean to cut you off there.
Good, mate.
It's
Go on,
nailed
continue.
his time and
in rare form.
nailed
Like
his time. Yes, your back four will be Furlong with at right back Townsend, left back. It'll be Ajayi, who scored at Anfield with Bartley. I think it'll be Maitland-Niles with Yakuslu. I think after Johnston, Pereira, Yakuslu is the other one that seriously somebody needs to pick up in the Premier League. Holding midfielder, Turkish international. Doesn't move very far away from the back four, but just sits there and breaks the play up. Absolutely top class. Really cheap as well. Celta Vigo, 1 rid. I think he's somebody that's just waiting to move to a Premier League team. So you'll have Yakusu. Conor Gallagher's been pretty good this season on loan from Chelsea. Bit of a kind of just dog with a bone. He just runs around absolutely mad throughout the whole game. Yeah, he's got a little bit of quality as well. So there'll be the 3, Maitland-Niles, Yakusu and Gallagher. And then the front 3 will be Phillips, Pereira and Diang, who should have scored about 10 goals by now, but he's only got 3. He just can't score. He scored. I don't know whether you guys saw the Southampton offside goal recently where they chalked it off because they couldn't draw the line properly because there was too many bodies in the way. But there was actually a West Brom player behind him. It was just like so onside that it felt a bit sorry for him, really. But he'll lead the line because they've got no one else up front, basically. Wahome needs a cup of coffee.
I think he's coffee and some water. Let's go to the chat real quick. Genie20 says that the game to worry about is the Burnley game for me. No disrespect to the others. Yeah, we kind of mentioned that yesterday on our Friday's final word. I think Burnley's going to be a big match as well, but one game at a time, just like the Reds themselves have been saying, one game at a time. We start with West Brom tomorrow. Gangan Deep said that low block and Allardyce shithousery might be incoming. I'm definitely worried. Yeah. We'll see what happens. I think that Big Sam is definitely going to want to get a result against Jurgen Klopp. So we'll see what happens tomorrow. Go ahead, Joe.
I was just going to say, you know, Liverpool are going to have more of the ball. It's going to be kind of Thiago, Wijnaldum, Fabinho. I imagine they'll just play as strong a team as they can, and I'd imagine that'll be the midfield 3. So you can imagine, or I certainly can envisage a situation where those 3 guys are kind of just sat on the halfway line, trying to kind of unpick the lock. Really, that's what you can see. I don't think that's anything against particularly the way Sam plays. The way Sam sets his teams out. I just think it's the quality of opposition, really, in that respect. So you kind of just, it's all about upsetting then, really, and asking the kind of the front line of defence being the attackers, can you win the ball high? They do press pretty well, actually, West Brom. So I think, you know, if you can win the ball high and break, they've got a little bit of pace on the counter, then they could potentially hurt Liverpool. You know, you look at the 2 young lads in defence, and you think that, could Dian rough them up a little bit? Could Pereira get in among them and cause some problems? Then they might have some joy that way. But defensively, they've got to seriously sharpen up because they've conceded some really sloppy goals recently.
Yeah, that press could be tough for our youngsters at the center back position. But I think that Trent and Robertson have been playing really well recently. So that's those 2 other players you guys have to keep an eye on. But 1892 Reds podcast, as bad as it is to say, I think Henderson at Man United is the best English keeper right now. He hasn't looked very good against Liverpool the past 2 years, so I don't know. I think he's good. I think he has a lot of potential, but he's struggled against us. Let's see. Chris Welch had a really good one here where homie just finished FaceTiming call with Upamecano. That's so good.
It's the better one.
Clearly haven't drinks with Ben Davies. I was working my way down, man. Genie20 saying that Mane hat-trick incoming. I hope so, man. He was pissed off at the end of the last game, so hopefully him and Klopp are on better terms now, and he does score a goal. That'd be great to see. Congrats to Leicester City from Dave's LFC chats made up for my bro Lee Chappie. I want to see Curtis Jones start ahead of Genie. I've actually thought Genie played really, really well against Manchester United. Yeah, I agree, Soph. I agree. But congrats to Leicester. Can't stand Chelsea fans. Happy for Bottle Job Rogers, too. Yeah, good for them for getting a trophy for sure. Hopefully they do drop points, though. You know, we want to make it to the top 4. So, but Wahomie, welcome, man.
Hi.
What's going on? I didn't say anything. He just starts laughing.
Oh my god, it's fine.
What's the question?
It's not me.
I just said, what's going on?
Oh, pretty good. Tipsy, but good.
Good. That's good.
I'm looking forward to this West Brom game. Hopefully, I said before, obviously, we haven't the best record at West Brom. I think even since Rodgers' days, you haven't had the best record there. So it's, you know, as we said yesterday on Friday's Final Word, that we can get past West Brom and get a win there, then we're going to get top 4. But, you know, obviously, Sam Allardyce, he hates Liverpool, so he's going to go all out to try and make sure he wins the party. You know, and I remember last time when he was Everton manager, how he celebrated a draw there and, you know, scuppered our chances, I think, of going for the title. So, you know, he doesn't like Klopp, and he's going to make it as difficult as possible on Sunday. And also, I think West Brom are quite good at set pieces. So there's a threat there in terms of, I don't know if Kabak's going to be back 100%. I know Sophie said he's going to be back, but he is great. But otherwise, it's going to be a different test than how we had to Man United. Because, you know, West Brom are going to play direct football, make it difficult with stop our fullbacks, and they're going to get loads of crosses in there. So it's going to be one of those days where we need to be on point in terms of defending set pieces and defending smartly. So
I just think for me, I agree with what Wahomie's saying, but as Joe said before, Liverpool are probably going to outpossess West Brom the majority of the game. I'm not unduly concerned about our defence based on what we've just done at United. United have got much quicker players with a higher press, more intensity, and we managed to keep them quiet because of our midfield. And I feel like we had a lot of possession that game as well. I know they don't play with a low block like West Brom, but I feel like if we can control that midfield and we can actually capitalise on our possession early on, then it won't be an issue. But for me, we can stop their pace, we can stop their counter, we can stop the set piece, we can do everything. But unless we capitalise on it and score, it makes absolutely no difference, does it? And that's the issue for me, whether we can actually take advantage of all that possession we're going to get, because it's just going to be irritating on a long 90 minutes if not.
Well, yeah. So, I think that's a good point. You know, I think part of our issue throughout the season was when we did face that low block, that's when we struggled. It really hurt our confidence. But right now, like you just said, you know, the past few games, we've been playing some great football. We've gotten some great results. Do you think that we can get that to continue in this game against West Brom when we know that they're going to try to disrupt our flow and our rhythm of the game?
I hope so. And I'm hopeful and quietly confident that we can. I feel like I said to last night that I definitely feel like that United game has gave us a massive, much needed boost. We were not expected to win that game, never alone really draw it. We were kind of expecting to lose, to be honest.
Yeah.
That's going to be a massive boost for the lads. And I think when you beat a team like United, which is a horrible rivalry at the best of times, especially this year when they're above us and we won it last year, it's just that extra, even when we're crap, we're better than you type thing. That I feel like that feeling's come back, and I'm hoping that we can take that forward into the game yesterday. Fucking hell, I'm like, Wahomie, tomorrow. I'm hoping we can take that game into tomorrow. I'm losing track of the days. And capitalise on
Albion
that.
might have a chance if you're playing yesterday, to be fair.
Oh, you know what? Literally. I can't even think of like what day it is anymore because I feel like I've been on that many podcasts in the last couple of days. I don't know where I'm coming or going or what I've said on what channel. I don't know. I don't know what homies put in my wine, but he's quite clear. I've gone like this.
What homies having. Joe, let's go to you real quick, though. I'm really curious to hear your perspective of Liverpool's season this season. Obviously, they've struggled off the highs of last season where they won the title and the season before that where they won the Champions League. But from an outsider's perspective, I mean, what are your thoughts about the Reds this year? Like, what do you think they got wrong? What do you think they've been getting right in the past few games?
Oh, I said to you earlier, mate, to be honest, I think it's so difficult to maintain that level, like those energy levels week in, week out. It's not just 38 games. When you're playing for Liverpool, it is inevitably going to be like 55, 60 game season. So to be able to do that just constantly year on year is so hard. So for them to even do it 2 years in a row and to win those two major trophies was like some effort. Like, not even City could kind of keep up with them last season. Pandemic or not, like, even if the season had ended normally, I think they still would have won by a distance. So I think it's just really, really difficult. Kind of where do you kind of go when you go back in the summer and Jota and Thiago, really, really good signings. You're hoping that they can help you maintain that. But inevitably, Firmino, Mane, Salah, they're going to, you can't, I mean, Salah's done it again, but Mane, for example, I was having a look at some of the stats recently. Pereira scored more goals than Mane this season, for example. So that's that. You know what I mean? It's like, can you keep going every year on year? It's kind of a case of, is your desire there, to go and do it for like 5, 6, 7 years in a row, the way like Ferguson's United did it, and the Liverpool teams of old. So it's really tough. I think defensively they've had their problems. You can point to injuries, of course, but for me, when especially seeing them at Anfield earlier in the season, it was they just couldn't put the ball away. Like, Mane scored, but Firmino could have had a couple of goals that day, if I remember rightly. Mane himself, Salah. I mean, they all could have scored. And it was exactly the same performance against Brighton at home, exactly the same performance against Burnley. You got to bear in mind, as a West Brom fan, I'm cheering Liverpool on in those games. We're desperately needing them to see off our relegation rivals.
Yeah,
and it just wasn't like kind of coming together, and that's been the frustrating thing. And then of course you lose one or lose two, and that home record goes, and it just, it kind of just collapsed a little bit like a deck of cards. So with 3 games to go, to say that pretty much Champions League football is in your hands is still some going. You got to bear that in mind. Really, the last few weeks have been. Really, really positive.
Really agree. Yeah, I mean, from the season that we've had, the fact that we still somehow have this opportunity to make the Champions League is a godsend. Without Virgil van Dijk, Joel Matip, Joe Gomez, all these other guys that have been inconsistently in and out of our lineup, we're missing our captain. Everything that's gone wrong has gone wrong this season, and the fact that we're still somehow in it with 3 games to go, game in hand, is just remarkable. It's absolutely remarkable. Just going back to the chat real quick, Genie20, you had a question. So my brother and I, Steven, he's not on the show tonight. We're from Boston in the States, and Wahomie actually resides in London. He's a Liverpool fan residing in London. So, and Sophie, I believe, is in Liverpool, if I'm not mistaken. A lot of talk about what everybody's drinking. I love it. This is a crazy stat. Is this true? I don't know if this is true. Here's an interesting stat. He's been brilliant this season, of course, but take away Mo Salah's penalties, he will be 2 in front of Mane.
No, that's true.
Can you confirm that's true?
Yeah. Like if someone said on another podcast I was on, I think it was 1892 podcast, that
that's them who wrote that.
Salah scored a lot of penalties, but in terms of open play goals, he's not got that much more than Mane this season. He's got more penalties.
Well, he must have more goal contributions.
Yeah. But in terms of actual goals, I think that in terms of open play ones, he's not that much more than Mane.
Gang and Deep said Genie played well last 2 games, but I think this is a game for Curtis Jones. We need someone with the ability to progress the ball forward, to create in the final third, and shoot from outside the box. What do you guys think about that one?
No.
Well, we know that you love Genie, but why?
It's not about loving Genie. It's about, this is a game where we need people who understand how to block against set pieces. We need somebody who is able to have those retrievals to stop a counter, because that is what West Brom are going to try and do. They're going to try and wait for us to have all the possession, let us have all the time in the world, and make a break on it. And Jones is not that type of player to make those recoveries. If one of the if West Brom get hold of that ball and run through, well, it's already a slow defence at the best for us at the minute. I don't really want Curtis Jones, who's a forward player. I've just seen that comment, and that has really annoyed me. I'll come to that in a minute. I don't want Jones in this game, who's a forward player, where we need somebody who's going to have that, that control, that retention, the recoveries. For me, taking Genie out of it, I want that type of player in this game. By all means, if come 60 minutes, like Klopp likes to make a sub at 60 minutes or so, if it's not working, by all means, bring Jones on. But can we really say what impact Jones had on the United game? Not much, really. He played well, but he didn't really improve it anymore.
You got the assist to Salah.
We're going to fall out real quick, lads. Real quick right now. Like, he is going to go, but he doesn't need to go. There's a very, very distinguishable difference between the two.
Yeah, those guys at the 1892 podcast. I'm not sure who it was. It might have been Ricky, but we've had a little banter back and forth about Genie going or coming. But we know where he stands. We know where he stands. There's a question here for Joe though from the 1892 Reds podcast. I know it's a 38-game season, but with your draw against us at Anfield, is it a disappointing result considering Fulham, Brighton, and Burnley all won at Anfield?
Oh no, I don't think so. I mean, a point at Anfield, when you consider that, how, as I say, I really don't even remember like West Brom leaving their half in the first half at Anfield. I know the teams have won since then, but a point at Anfield for a team like Albion is the same as if you'd have offered Sean Dyche, Graham Potter, Steve Bruce. They'd have all said thank you very much for a draw. So, nah, not really. A draw would have been good. It's elsewhere where we've dropped points. It's like the fact that we didn't beat Sheffield United at Bramall Lane, we didn't beat Fulham,
True.
We didn't beat Newcastle. They're the games. That's the reason we're going down, not because we didn't beat Liverpool.
Yeah, I mean, a point at Anfield is definitely something to cherish, at least during Klopp's reign over the Liverpool squad.
We've not been bad. We've not been bad at Anfield. I mean, I was in the away end the other year when we went down as well and got a 0-0 draw and then won in the FA Cup and. We've won there when Lukaku scored the winner and Odin Wingy scored a winner there. We've done all right with them against the Hawthorns as well. We've done all right against Liverpool. So it's not been too bad, really. When you consider like the 2000s when Houllier was in charge and we used to routinely get beat 4-5-0, we've come a fair way.
We have won the ages.
The whole squad's here.
We haven't won
the 4 of us are together for the first time in months.
Well, homie's wasted. Sophie's buzzing. I'm feeling good. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling all right. I'm just having Wi-Fi issues because I'm at a new place.
You're always having Wi-Fi issues.
Well, I don't have Wi-Fi. I'm on a mobile hotspot right now, but I wanted to check in and Joe, it's nice to meet you, man. Thanks for jumping on. Appreciate you.
Yeah, and you, Steve.
Yeah, but I wanted to hop in at the end. I figured I'd hop on for trivia.
This is probably the best connection you've ever had, to be honest.
I know. I was just about to say that. I'm going, that's really clear for you.
All right. I feel attacked right now. We can pump the brakes. All right. I'm here for a good time, not a long time.
No, it's your time to be attacked. Well, homie's been attacked. I've been attacked. It's your turn now.
All right.
Well,
whatever.
The chat's been going off about Genie a little bit. Genie20 is saying, I love Genie too. I would assume that he would love Genie given his name. And I'm lucky Klopp agrees. Next season, people are going to miss him. Trust me. Yeah, and that's kind of how we feel over here at Yanks of the Kop. I know the guys at 1892 don't agree with that. But yeah, so, well, homie, let's go to you. What do you think we're going to see for a lineup tomorrow, formation? I mean, Joe gave his predictions from a West Brom point of view. What do you think we're going to see tomorrow?
I think probably much going to see them more or less the same team unless Kabak comes back and he's fit. And I think it will probably be the same defense and goalkeeper. The only one change he might do, depending on if he starts Mane over Jota. Otherwise, I think it's going to be more or less the same team. I was just looking. We haven't won at actually West Brom. I can't remember the last time we won there. Looking at the games here, we haven't won there since.
I remember Firmino scoring a winner, but I mean, I think.
When was that?
I think
I'm just looking at our past last games.
2017, but we haven't been in the Premier League for a couple of those years. But I think like going back, I remember Brendan's first game in charge, and Albion had the first game of the season, and Gira scored like from about 30 yards out. We've had some decent results against Liverpool, really, at the Hawthorns.
Yeah. I was looking at the last games. Like we've drawn a lot at your place.
Oh Jurgen blamed the grass last time. He blamed the length of the grass last time.
It's only
that's not like him.
The one win.
The grass or
Liverpool were only 2-0 up with about 20 minutes to go, and still managed to blame the grass for not winning.
The last time before we played that was in 2014, wasn't it? Before that,
I remember Colo Torre had a nightmare.
Yeah, 2015 we played. We drew 0-0, and before that in 2014 it was we drew 1-1.
Colo Torre had an absolute nightmare, and Ichby scored. I know, great times. Has it ever? I don't really know. I mean, in terms of the 4-3-3, it seems to kind of suit Liverpool. Can't have any complaints about the last few years. But has it ever kind of like crossed your minds that could play Mane, Jota, Salah, and Firmino in the same team? Would he do that?
He would, but I think the issue is a lot of injuries this year. That's why he's not done that much. I think he would if he had Henderson fit and maybe Van Dijk and Gomez, but I don't think he would do it with this team currently now. So it's normally because of injuries.
Yeah, in midfield, yeah.
Because
he hasn't done it.
We started experiment with 4-2-3-1, and I quite like it. I thought that was the way we were going to progress this year, like coming away from the 4-3-3 and trying to change the tactic because it's tried and tested. But people, teams are aware of how to play against that now. But I think, like Wahomi's just said, when it came to injuries, you don't want to try and instigate a new. You've just seen that message, haven't you, Wahomi? Like, you don't want to try and put a new formation in place when you've got a very weakened, injured squad. It's best just sticking with what you've got for now. But I do like him when he plays all four of the front four now, technically.
The other thing as well is, I think, like, for me, looking at Liverpool's squad currently, you've got two young defenders at the back. You know the way the fullbacks are going to be in terms of just bombing on. I don't even know if the options are there, to be honest. Like, but if Kabak was fit, for example, would he ever consider playing three at the back? 'Cause that's something that Allardyce has done quite a lot, and Tuchel plays it. And you just think, like, potentially if you had to play three youngsters all together as opposed to two of them, Robertson and Trent are like ready-made wing backs. But I suppose then it kind of negates, I suppose, a little bit in terms of more forward picks. It would mean dropping one of the front three, for example.
See, I don't ever see him playing three at the back.
Yeah.
It just wouldn't lend, and I know our fullbacks bomb it forward, but to play three at the back, we've never, when Virgil and Gomez and hopefully if we sign Konate, you don't need three of those players. You don't need to put three good quality players through 90 minutes of football, 38 games a season plus Champions League, Europa League, whatever, cup games. You don't need to put them through that when you've got two centre-backs who are quite capable of working as two. Because let's not forget, like you just said, our full-backs bomb it forward. Normally, in a normal season, Robbo and Trent bomb it forward, and Virgil and Gomez spread out and run the back line as them, just two of them. So why do we need an extra defender on when we know we can do it with what we've got?
Yeah, and I think Fabinho, and I just think Fabinho is. I think it's him and Conte that are the best center defensive mids. They're the best sixes in the country, in my opinion, maybe even the world. So I think that when you have him in front of you, it just gives you so much confidence at the back to begin with. So that's why I don't think they'd ever go with three in the back, but I could be wrong. I think they're better suited with a 4-2-3-1. I mean, Klopp Klopp this season, with the amount of injuries that we've had, he hasn't taken on too many risks, just because he doesn't feel like he has, in my opinion, he doesn't feel like he has the personnel to fit those positions. If we went into a 4-2-3-1, Thiago is adjusting to the Premier League. Fabinho was playing center back. Henderson's been in and out of the lineup. You have a young Curtis Jones starting to play. So I just don't think he wanted to try to change something up this season that hasn't really been tested at all throughout his tenure as Liverpool manager. But I am looking forward to next season, when we do have a fit squad, to seeing a 4-2-3-1, because oftentimes in games we do need a change. We need an adjustment to the formation. We become too predictable. And if you bring in someone, say Firmino is on the bench or Jota's on the bench, then all of a sudden Firmino can drop into that 10 role. Jota goes up front or Salah goes up front. One of them goes out wide, and it's a whole new dynamic. And I think that's where Firmino's future is. I think you're right. I think a 4-2-3-1 would be better suited going forward. I don't know about playing 3 in the back, though. Steven, what do you think? You haven't said anything.
No, I completely agree. I just don't think that, especially when we're healthy, I don't think that we would ever entertain going 3 in the back. I do agree with Joe's assessment that I think Robertson and especially Trent would be suited for like a wing back position. Yeah. But I just think, especially when we're healthy with our midfield, when you have 2 of Henderson and Fabinho in the midfield, like that is such excellent security blanket for the back line that it would just be redundant to have three center backs behind them. And I also agree. I think, to Sophie's point, I think we would have seen a lot more of the 4-2-3-1 this year if we hadn't gotten injured. I think that's part of the reason why we brought Thiago in the first place, because he does thrive in that sort of formation. But no, I think also just with Klopp, he likes to go with his tried and tested. He likes to go with the stuff that he trusts. And that's the 4-3-3 formation. So I don't see us diverging from that this season. But I would say keep an eye out for next season, especially as we get healthy. I wouldn't be surprised if we see a lot more of a 4-2-3-1, especially with Firmino playing in the 10, because we've seen how good he can be in that role.
Yeah.
Well, that's a good point, Steven. But let's end it with some predictions for the match, and then we'll do a little trivia at the very end. So let's just go kind of around the horn here. Well, homie, I'm going to start with you. So we're going to put you on the spot first for
Come on, Jeremy.
prediction.
Scoring prediction. I predicted last night on Glenn's Arsenal channel a 3-1 win. I'm going to stick with that. I'm going to say 3-1 Liverpool. I think that West Brom will score, but I think
Who scores for Liverpool?
I'm back inside to score. I think he might stick with Jota over Mane. I think Jota will score 2.
All right, Steven, what do you think?
I'm saying 2-0 Liverpool. Salah and Mane. Mane is going to get the start. It's going to be the same team other than Mane, but Mane is going to jump back in for Jota. 2-0 Salah, and then Mane with the second goal to seal it.
Soph?
I said on Doug yesterday 2-1, so I'm going to stick with the 2-1. I think we are going to concede a goal. I think if you start Jota will score, and Bobby.
Love it.
Bobby.
Joe, what do you think?
I was expecting Genie then.
Really, apart from big games, when we won number 6, that was good.
This is a big game.
It's not Barcelona in the Champions League, is it? Though, really, honey, really.
You won't be playing Barcelona next season if you don't beat us.
No one play Barcelona, big and bust.
Hopefully. I did Albion dirty at Anfield when I was on this early in the season. I predicted we'd get beat 4-0 and we drew 1-1. But I actually think
I remember that.
I know, yeah. I think it's going to be 2-1 Liverpool. And take your pick. I think
I'll take any win, though.
Salah and Firmino and Pereira.
I actually agree with that scoreline. I'm going 2-1 Liverpool. I don't know who scores for West Brom. I guess I'll go with Pereira. Just follow Joe. But for Liverpool, I think Trent gets a goal, and I think Salah gets a goal. Trent opens the scoring. The chat, Chris Welch is predicting a 2-0 Liverpool win. He always goes to the 2-0s. Yeah, you definitely do, Chris. And Genie 20 is saying the Salah double and Mane hat trick. I can see VAR giving them 1 or 2. So I think he's going with a 5-2 or a 5-1 victory for the Reds. I would love to see that. That would be fucking amazing.
Yeah.
But
I'd love that.
let's end with some trivia. Does anybody have one that they want to start with?
I got one.
Oh, he actually thought of some? Wow.
Yeah.
I wrote some last night for Friday's Final Word, but we didn't do trivia. So I thought I'll say it tonight then, because Andrew cut it
Yeah,
off.
sorry.
It's a good job you did, actually, really, isn't it? Let's be honest.
What is it?
First one is
Is it land animals or sea animals again?
Shush.
Anything but murderers.
No. First
That's
one
always
is,
messed up.
Alphabet killer!
what are your top 3 albums of all time?
Ooh, that's a good one. That's a really good one.
We'll start with you, Joe. What are your top 3 albums of all time?
Oh God. I'm going to be really, really controversial and say that "Be Here Now" is my favorite Oasis album, as opposed to the first 2. I think "Favorite Worst Nightmare" is my favorite Arctic Monkeys album. I'll probably go something from Muse, I think, as well. I'll have to come back to me though.
I'm going to go with, I'm a huge Bob Dylan fan, so I'm going to go with Blonde on Blonde. I love Blonde on Blonde. I'm also a big Kendrick Lamar fan, so I'm going to go with Good Kid, Mad City. And I'm also a massive Tupac fan, so I'm going to go with Me Against the World.
Some quite different music. Bit of Bob, bit of Tupac.
Yep.
And Steve, what's yours?
Yeah, I'm thinking of third one.
So I'm gonna go a little bit different. So one of mine is also Good Kid, Mad City. I love Kendrick Lamar. My favorite artist is Kid Cudi, so I'm gonna say Man on the Moon.
Oh, good call.
And then a little bit of a throwback with this one, Jay-Z, The Blueprint 2. Love that album.
There was
Good call right here, though. Good call right here. Nas-O-Matic.
Yeah.
That's no doubt.
Apparently, there's a remix of Jay-Z's Blueprint or one of his CDs with a Beatles album, and it's like the best album of all time.
Isn't it called the Grey Album or something?
The Grey Album. Yeah, it's the Grey Album. Yeah. Have you ever heard that?
I've not. I've been told all about it. I really need to check that out. Yeah, it's a bit of the Black Album, but the White Album.
Yeah, it's Jay-Z's like rapping, and it's the Beatles tunes, and I think chorus or something like that.
Yeah, it's called the Grey Album. Yeah, I need to check that out.
Sophie?
I was going to go for I Write Sins, Not Tragedies by Panic! At the Disco. Brilliant album. Songs with the longest titles possible. That was always fun writing them out. Fearless by Taylor Swift, because that was my baby teens. She was my baby teens. And Four by Beyonce, because that's just a fuck men album. That's just brilliant.
Do you like Machine Gun Kelly?
Yes and no.
His new punk album is unreal.
I like some of Machine Gun Kelly's things. Some of them I don't like at all. Like I like, what's that? Is it I'm Okay? Is one of his songs.
His new album that he just came out with is really good. If you haven't,
I will have a little listen.
Yeah, you should listen to it. I forget
What's it called?
Well, homie, why don't you go look it up?
My ones are Tupac, All Eyes on Me.
Nice.
DMX, It's Dark But Hell Is Hot.
Wow.
And Jay-Z, The Blueprint. I think those were my favorite albums.
Dude, some overlap, man. I love it. Sophie, it's called Tickets to My Downfall.
Tickets to My Down. Oh, yeah, there it is. 2020 album. Okay, I will listen to that later. Oh, there's a song called Drunk Face. It's Wahomie. That was perfect.
Well, homie, do you have another one?
Yeah, next one. Would you rather be able to see your own future or be able to see everyone else's future but not your own?
Ooh, I wouldn't want to see my own future. I really wouldn't. I don't like that. So I'd rather see other people's futures.
Joe?
Yeah, I'd be inclined to agree. I think I'd rather see everybody else's future. I wouldn't be too keen on seeing mine, to be honest.
Sophie?
Yeah, I'm going to agree because if I could see my own future and I didn't like it, I'd go out my way to make sure I changed it, and that would like take over my whole life. And I'm also thinking like business point of view, if I can see everyone's future, like I would make an absolute fecking fortune and I could retire and go to the Maldives.
Yep.
Oh,
Like,
I want to go there. I want to go there.
I will say though, I can see our future right now. We're gonna get one more subscriber tonight to hit 350.
Hopefully. Someone subscribe.
It's gonna be Joe. It's gonna be Joe.
Why not me? Yeah. So,
I got a minute. How dare you come on here and not already be subscribed?
Yeah.
I don't actually ever use
Put the
YouTube.
pressure on,
ever.
Joe.
You don't need to use YouTube. Click a button, you don't open it again.
Love it.
Wait, did you do it?
Yeah, I've done it. Yeah.
We're at 350.
350.
You can see the future.
I told you I can see the future, guys.
That's a good album. Drake, that's a good album.
We're homie.
Views better. Views is better.
We're homie.
He's never let me down. Chris, he's coming up with that. He's never let me down. Look,
No,
made a mistake.
Well, homie, what was your answer?
Oh, no, I would rather be able to see everybody else's future as well.
All right, I actually have a piece of trivia.
Ooh.
So what is your favorite podcast to listen to or YouTube channel, but it has to be non-football related?
My one's Tony Robbins. I love his podcast.
What is it?
Tony Robbins podcast.
Okay. Tony Robbins?
Yeah, 'cause I love his how motivated he gets and how like it makes me feel like I'm on top of the world in the morning when I listen to him stuff in the morning, going to work.
Anybody else?
I don't listen to any.
You don't listen to any?
No, literally. Apart from the football podcast that I'll watch, like watching live, I don't, because I can't think of anything less. I am not a morning person by any stretch of the imagination, and I'm sure you can tell. I'm sure you can imagine that.
I could.
I'm not really a daytime person or an evening person or a person, but that's something else. But I can't imagine anything worse than driving to work first thing in the morning and listening to somebody being like, you can do it, like being dead positive. I'm like, no, let's put some really loud music on and let's block everything out for that 15-minute drive to work. That's all I want to. I just want to listen to music. I don't want to talk to it. I don't want to listen to people being philosophical about anything. Like, no.
Joe, do you have any of these?
I really, really like my horse racing. So there's a group of lads in Ireland called the Finishing Line Podcast. Sorry, tune into them pretty much every week, twice a week.
So I'm getting married in October, and for my bachelor party, Stephen and I are going to stag party, I think is what you guys call it. We're going to Saratoga Springs, New York, and they have a popular race there called the Travers.
Huge.
So we're going to that. So if I might be hitting you up with some things how to.
Oh, mate.
No, I'm about to postpone my wedding. You can piss off.
Can you guys do like a live stream of it for the channel?
Of what?
Yeah.
My bachelor party?
Yeah.
I think we'll get blocked.
You don't want to see that live, man.
I really don't want to see that. Like,
yeah, we're gonna be longer than you right now.
Some very weird things funny, but I can honestly say that watching Andrew and Steve at a bachelor party is not something on my bucket list. But you do you. It's all coming out now with a couple of drinks.
Steven, what's yours?
Joe Rogan Experience.
That's mine as well. Joe Rogan's the man.
Yeah.
But
he has
I got
everything.
one more. Last one. Would you rather fight 100 ducks the size of horses, or 100 small ducks the size of horses, or one massive horse duck?
What are you even asking right now? What the hell was that?
One,
So it's 100 horses the size of a duck,
horse and a quack.
or one duck the size of a horse.
Yeah, 100 small horses, small duck horses. Or
A duck. One
giant
duck the size of a horse.
Yeah,
Yeah.
with Steve.
Yeah, I would take the duck. I would take the duck.
Horses kick
Whoa.
hard.
Or 100 horses the size of a duck? Ducks
No,
aren't that
Would
small.
you rather fight small ducks, horse-sized ducks,
Dude, a
very
duck,
small.
like, duck's big.
Big
or
fish, little fish.
a duck as big as a horse?
Definitely the horse-sized duck.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Same.
one horse-sized duck.
The
Or
100
small-
horses would mess you up.
Well, homie didn't specify what size horse. Because if it's a Shetland, I'll take the duck.
Yeah.
And I'd ride it and be like, "Go, my duck!" I think about these way too much. My answers, there's no need for it.
Joe's like, what the hell did I get myself into?
Joe,
I'm
yeah, so
thinking
Joe-
actually, I would rather face 100 horses. To be honest, I think the idea of a duck being bigger than me scares the shit out of me. To be honest,
That's a good
it's
answer.
just terrifying. You put me in a boxing ring or something with a duck that's that big.
Has anybody else seen that Family Guy where Peter Griffin always fights with the chicken?
Oh, yeah.
I feel like that would be the duck
Goes on for like 15 minutes. It goes on for like half the episode.
every single time, and then it's like a 5-season-long battle. It just carries on forever.
It's
That'd
like
be very-
Peter when he's up against Peter fights against Homer at the end of the Family
Yeah.
Guy Simpsons episode.
Yeah.
It goes on for like 10 minutes.
I love them now. It goes on that long that it's still funny, and I don't know why.
Isn't there one where like isn't like one of the last fights they like make up or like they're fighting and Peter's just like wait why are we doing this and he's just like I don't know and they like go out and have like a drink or something.
Probably. I don't know. I'm watching
Yeah,
that guy.
So they go out for dinner, and Peter goes out to dinner with the chicken and his wife, and then like everything's great. They're like, I don't even remember why we were fighting, like all this stuff, and they become friends, and then the bill comes out, and they both want to pay for the bill, and they start fighting again.
I love how this chat's digressed right the way through to Family Guy.
That's
See you, Chris.
Yeah, see you, Chris. All right, that's a good way to end it right there, guys. Joe, thanks again for joining us, man. You're officially a recurring guest of our show, and hopefully, if we play each other in a cup next season, we'll see you again. But for everybody else in the chat, you guys were on fire as always. If you haven't already, go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button. Steven, thanks for joining us late. Well, homie, drink a lot of water, man. But looking forward to the next tomorrow. We'll be live. Steven's going to do the team news tomorrow morning here in the States. I guess it's early afternoon for you guys over in the UK. And then I don't know who's going to be joining me for the watch along, but it's going to be a good one.
What time's the game tomorrow?
It's 11:30 Eastern time.
I should be able to do that.
Yeah.
I'll be there.
All right, guys. Up the Reds. Hopefully get a result tomorrow. Keep the positivity going. Let's go.
Got the Reds.